What a beautiful Monday morning. The birds are chirping, the sun is shining outside, and I wake up to see Stephanie White getting dragged through the mud for being a snake oil salesman, aka a liar, all online. Oh, what a great...
The facade has crumbled in Indiana as the celebrated honeymoon era officially hits a catastrophic dead end. What was marketed as a championship resurgence has devolved into a locker room crisis, fueled by explosive new footage that exposes the blatant hypocrisy of Stephanie White. Fans are aggressively dismantling the head coach's narrative, pulling receipts on broken promises, and a tactical regression that is systematically neutralizing the most lethal offensive weapons in the league. Despite being heralded as a genius who would revolutionize the Clark-Boston dynamic, White's debut against the Dallas Wings delivered a shocking tactical erasure that left the faithful in total disbelief. As the digital community unearths damning interviews, the projected revolution has been exposed as a strategic failure, igniting a fierce backlash against a coaching philosophy that appears fundamentally disconnected from the talent on the floor.
That's what this Indiana Fever franchise does best. So she goes on, she talks to Renee Montgomery. They not like us. They not like us. And she says, oh, well, teams are expecting the pick and roll. We got to change. We can't do the same thing over and over again. I mean, y'all have only done 13 games together last year, so you don't really establish anything. And then we have Stephanie White's introductory press conference. Oh, Stockton and Malone, the pick and roll game. Oh, we have the two best. Let's get right into it, shall we? I can't.
The evidence is undeniable. Stephanie White has effectively handed the league a blueprint for her own offensive sabotage. In a high-profile sit-down with Renee Montgomery, White made the staggering admission that the Indiana Fever would abandon the pick and roll simply because opponents expect it, a claim so devoid of fundamental basketball logic that it sent shockwaves through the digital community. To discard a team's primary strength under the guise of unpredictability is a strategic failure of the highest order. Professional sports are built on execution, not evasion. You force the opposition to stop your best weapon until they prove capable. Last season, the Clark-Boston pick and roll was a peerless, unstoppable force that defined the league's offensive standard. By retreating from this lethal engine, White isn't just changing the playbook. She is intentionally stalling a dominant system that no defense has yet been able to solve.
Yeah, I think creating space for C and AB to do what they do in the two-man game, you probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a...
What the hell did you just say? What did you just say? You were probably never going to see it again?
You probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a hub and inverting some of those actions. I mean, she showed last year that she can be a point forward.
Historical greatness in sports is defined by imposing your will, not by retreating from your strengths. The legendary Lakers never denied Shaquille O'Neal the ball in the paint simply because the defense anticipated the play. They dared opponents to stop the unstoppable. Similarly, the prime Minnesota Vikings didn't abandon Adrian Peterson against a stacked box because elite talent demands that the opposition adapt, not the other way around. Yet, Stephanie White has opted for a preemptive surrender, signaling a desire to invert the offense and transform a generational engine like Caitlin Clark into a mere decoy. By attempting to reinvent the wheel while holding the keys to a high-performance machine, White is prioritizing complex hub-based schemes over the lethal efficiency of her stars. The backlash reached a fever pitch as digital investigators unearthed archival footage from her introductory press conference, revealing a stark contradiction between the promises made to secure the fans' trust and the tactical sabotage unfolding on the court.
What I do best, and it's up to you to stop it. This is what I do best, and it's up to you to stop it. She needs a drug test. Straight up. She needs a drug. People knew what Stockton and Malone were going to do. Pick and roll, pick and roll. She needs a drug test. She needs to get tested. Somebody test her, please. Go to CVS, get an over-the-counter drug test. What? She needs... Wait. There's only coffee. What's in your coffee cup, Stephanie? What's in your coffee?
During her introductory press conference, Stephanie White leveraged a legacy of basketball royalty to secure public trust, explicitly comparing Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston to John Stockton and Karl Malone. By invoking the most iconic pick-and-roll duo in league history, she sold a vision of unstoppable, historically dominant basketball to a hungry fan base. However, this promising rhetoric was exposed as a hollow sales pitch during the season opener against Dallas, where the team virtually abandoned the very strategy White used to build her credibility. The hypocrisy is undeniable. One cannot benchmark their stars against Stockton and Malone, while simultaneously arguing that the pick and roll must be scrapped because opponents anticipate it. For 2 decades, the entire world knew exactly what Stockton and Malone were running. Yet their execution rendered preparation irrelevant. By retreating from this elite tactical engine at the first sign of resistance, White has ignited a firestorm of criticism over a coaching philosophy that feels like a bait-and switch.
Part of your game, we call that a dummy. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you guys are the best 2-man game in the league. Oh, nobody can stop your pick and roll. We're going to go away from that. We don't call that a great coach. We call that a dummy. And we have people telling us she's an elite ball knower. My ass, elite ball knower. Sheesh almighty. She needed to be fired in the offseason.
The results on the hardwood were the inevitable byproduct of a catastrophic coaching philosophy, a disjointed, stagnant offense that left the Indiana Fever in shambles. Caitlin Clark, arguably the most dynamic playmaker in the world, was reduced to a frustrated bystander, relegated to corner, while the offense initiated through inferior actions. It appeared as though Stephanie White was playing defense against her own roster, suppressing Clark's elite instincts to validate a flawed, inverted system. This tactical arrogance has ignited a digital firestorm, with an outraged fan base demanding immediate accountability and drawing unfavorable comparisons to previous coaching regimes. When the strategy is so fundamentally incoherent that social media is calling for coaching staff integrity checks, the organization is facing a total systemic collapse. Despite the media's desperate attempt to frame this offensive neutralization as high IQ basketball, the fans recognize the truth. Elite coaching maximizes generational talent, while an ego-driven approach sabotages it. White is effectively outsmarting herself, alienating a passionate community by dismantling the very engine that makes this team elite.
Who's taking the lead today, guys? The lady is an absolute psycho. She's a nutcase. She's on some type of medication. She is, man. Like I can't pull punches anymore. I can't pull punches. I can't. She's just not it. She's just not it. And it's even more frustrating when you see people defend the shit. Calling her a great coach, calling her a good coach, calling her an excellent coach. If I have Peyton Manning, would I rather have Peyton Manning throw the ball 30 plus times?
The locker room atmosphere is undoubtedly reaching a volatile breaking point as elite players are forced to abandon the very skills that define their greatness. When generational talents are coerced into a failing system, resentment builds rapidly. It is only a matter of time before Caitlin Clark demands control or Aaliyah Boston pushes to the high screens that actually drive winning basketball. This isn't merely a poor game plan. It is a total betrayal of the Indiana Fever's identity. Stephanie White promised a Stockton and Malone level revolution, but delivered a stagnant, overthought nightmare that has placed astronomical pressure on the coaching staff. Heading into the next matchup, the margin for error is zero. Either the staff restores the ball to Clark's hands and lets the 2-woman game flourish, or they face an unprecedented digital revolt from a fan base that refuses to accept any more tactical excuses. The central question remains whether White intentionally misled the public or is simply failing to manage a complex transition, yet many view moving Clark off the ball as one of the most baffling decisions in league history. We need your unfiltered, high-octane takes in the comments. Did White sell a fraudulent dream, or is this just a massive overreaction? If you want the aggressive, hard-hitting truth the mainstream media won't touch, subscribe to WNBA Pro now and smash that like button, because this drama is just getting started. The locker room atmosphere is undoubtedly reaching a volatile breaking point as elite players are forced to abandon the very skills that define their greatness. When generational talents are coerced into a failing system, resentment builds rapidly. It is only a matter of time before Caitlin Clark demand control or Leah Boston pushes to the high screens that actually drive winning basketball. This isn't merely a poor game plan. It is a total betrayal of the Indiana Fever's identity. Stephanie White promised a Stockton and Malone level revolution, but delivered a stagnant, overthought nightmare that has placed astronomical pressure on the coaching staff. Heading into the next matchup, the margin for error is zero. Either the staff restores the ball to Clark's hands and lets the two-woman game flourish, or they face an unprecedented digital revolt from a fan base that refuses to accept any more tactical excuses. The central question remains whether White intentionally misled the public or is simply failing to manage a complex transition, yet many view moving Clark off the ball as one of the most